This is a Class 4 British Railways locomotive. Believe it or not, I used to work on this very engine when I was a kid down at Plaistow Locomotive. It's being renovated at the moment. It's in a bit of a state, but if you'd like to come up and have a look at it, I'll show you how it works, or try to. Not coming home, this is, I'll tell you. I left a packet of fags behind that knob there. It's frightening, isn't it? After all these years. Great engine. I love these engines. I used to work, as I said, on the railway down at a place called Plaistow in the east end of London in the late 50s. And this was one of the engines that I actually worked on. It's in steam, or it was in steam, down at the Severn Valley Railway. It's being repaired at the moment. It's having a new boiler and new bits on it. Should be ready for service sometime next year. I'm looking forward to that. These engines, you know, had a great personality all of their own, and you could have 4 or 5 engines of the same engine as this one, and completely different all the time. It's basically a very simple principle, an engine. You've got a boiler with the water in it, put the water in it with these things, put the coal in the coal hole, just there, and hope for the best. Well, obviously we won't be riding around in this engine today, because as you can see, it's in a bit of a state, but we have found one that is. And the driver is going to let me fire it. With a bit of luck, he might let me drive it and all. Well, here we are, full head of steam, rolling down the line as it were. Adam Reese driving today. I'm supposed to be firing, but I'm talking to you at the moment. Good, isn't it? In true railway tradition, it's lunchtime.
On the basis that you cooked it, you can eat it.
Thanks, mate.
Like your eggs black or yellow?
No, that'll be all right in a minute. That's just right. That's so my mother used to cook them. Yeah.
Hey, Joe, first bite for you.
Thanks, mate. Didn't like them sausages we had last week, did you?
Nah. You keep sticking them to the pan, though.
They don't make them like they used to.
Well, apart from the god-awful bacon sandwiches, what else do you miss about having left the railway?
The thing I like about it is when you come back after 30 years, what brings it all back to you is the smell of it all. You know, the steam and the smoke, and it soon comes back to you, because basically it's a very basic thing, a steam engine.
Do you remember some of the old characters, the old drivers that used to be around? They're real loony, some of them, weren't they?
I'll never forget them. I mean, there was one guy called Mad Menzies, who was literally, I think, mad. I mean, he should have been certified. I saw him set light to a bloke once. Found a fella asleep in the firebox when he should have been lit the fire and he hadn't. And old Menzies chucked a bit of cotton waste in there. Because it went woof and he come out the hole. You can see how big it is.
Like a rabbit going
Like a rabbit, mate. Off he went over the yard. And I've met him and he's still just as crazy as he ever was.
He's still a driver, is he?
Still a driver. Yeah, I mean, with drivers, if you got a bad driver, it made your job as a fireman real hard work. I mean, old Menzies used to open that regulator, low gear, you know, and you finish up with about 4 inches of clinker to clean out at the end of the day. Could make it really hard for you. But the guys that took the pride in the work, the old boys, we had a bloke called Donnelly on our shift, and he was immaculate. You could see your face in his boots, and all the brass was all shined up in the cab. And he was a real hard man. If you did anything wrong, you was in serious trouble. And we used to dread actually getting him on a firing turn. But after a while, when you found out what he was all about, it was the right way to do it. He was a good driver.
You obviously liked the job a lot, Joe. Why did you give it in?
Well, basically, the fact that, as I say, that the diesels came on, and I didn't like the idea of just sitting there making tea. But very interesting was that I was in a skiffle group at the time, and in those days you could, if you applied for leave on the railway, you'd get it. So you could have as much leave as you wanted. Well, I'd been playing in pubs and clubs around the East End of London for years, and when the skiffle came out, it was great, because then I was past cleaner, and I was, you know, firing engines, and of course, the great thing, all the skiffle songs in those days was about railways and all about firemen, and I was the kingpin, a genuine fireman with a guitar who could play 4 chords. And that's really why I left. I didn't actually leave, it took over from me, you know. I was doing more gigs and I was working on a railway, and eventually I just never went back. I think actually that if I went down there, I reckon I'm still on their books. Perhaps they owe me some back pay.
You'd be on a computer now.